Now, a cancer diagnosis can change anyone's life drastically. Our guest today, though, her story will inspire you, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So welcome to Unscripted with me, Grace Msalame, from the lovely Steakout Restaurant on Manyani Road here in Lavington. Karibu. Welcome to the show. As always, thank you so much for making time for us. With us today is this lovely lady. You look very nice, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. We can start off by introducing yourselves to people at home, telling them who you are and why you're here today.
My name is Usna Living, and I'm a cancer survivor.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I guess that's it. That's all you need to say. You are a cancer survivor. That is huge. Take us back, if you could, to when life took a drastic turn. This is back in 2019. Tell us what happened.
So I had moved back home.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I moved back to my mom's house.
Okay.
And I love working out a lot. So
Okay.
there I was, just doing my usual planks. Then I felt a sharp pain
Okay.
in my chest.
Okay.
It used to come and go. And a few years before that, in 2017, I had a chest pain. Then when I went to see the doctor, he told me that I was suffering from depression. Yes. So
But you're going to say like a cough or a bad infection. He said depression.
Yes, because we did x-rays and there was,
it was
nothing
clear.
wrong.
I see.
Yeah. And he said it must have been depression.
Wow.
Yes. So
And were you in a state of depression at that point?
No, really. I
Okay.
feel like I had normal stress levels like any other 24-year-old.
Okay.
But then I was 22. So it was
Okay.
just normal stress levels.
Okay.
So for me, I didn't really understand it. But then I went deeper and tried to read on what is depression. That's when I came across the DSM-5
Okay.
and trying to understand what is depression and what is going on in my mind.
Got it.
So in 2019, the chest pain came back, and that's when I felt like there was something wrong. And a few days later, it got so excruciating that I couldn't walk.
Really?
Any step I took, it was so
Affected your
painful.
chest?
Yes.
What?
So I went to our local level 5 hospital.
Okay.
They did an x-ray, and it was 4 in the evening, and in our hospitals at that time, people are going to their homes.
Yeah.
So the doctor told me, just come back tomorrow, we'll take a look at the x-ray. But then I took the x-ray and went to this private clinic.
Okay, good.
And then the guy there looked at the x-ray and said, are you sure this is yours? I said, yes.
What did it show?
There was some curve. It's like something was pushing my ribs. And he said, this x-ray is not normal. And I don't think you should be standing here. There's something wrong with your heart. Your heart is bigger. And he did some tests and he realized your heart is okay. But you need to book a vehicle and go to Nairobi. You need to do it. You see...
So you're back home, like up country.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
So you had to come to Nairobi now.
I had to come to Nairobi to see a chest specialist.
Okay.
So we made a few calls and then we booked one at Lancet.
Got it.
And after that, the chest specialist looked at it and he said, definitely there's something wrong. It looks like there's a growth in between your lungs and heart. There's something wrong. There's something that has just fallen here, but you need to do a biopsy. That's when you can figure out what's here. He didn't say, my sister used to call it the C word.
He didn't want to use the C word.
He didn't want to use the C word because he
But
had
just
already
by
seen
saying biopsy, sort of insinuating,
Yes.
that's
yes.
what he's thinking.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. My family was all over the place. We went
sure.
for the biopsy at Karen Hospital.
Okay.
After around 2 days, Dr. Muluka did the biopsy, and he didn't give me the results. He just told me, "I will tell you when we have that printout. I can't just tell you what I've seen.
Okay.
That's not what we are supposed to do."
Yeah.
So we had to wait for 2 weeks.
And in this period of 2 weeks, are you in pain? Are you struggling? Are they treating you? What's happening?
I was, because I was scared. I had started having the idea that I think this might be cancer. And you couldn't even finish that word.
I know.
Because cancer is an alien, like, disease. It's not a disease that's home.
Yeah.
It's a disease that you see on TV or on the magazines.
Yeah.
You don't
Imagine.
imagine,
That this
that
could
you could go through it.
Yeah.
So it was a very weird period in my family.
I'm sure.
Yes, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
These chest pains used to come when I'm stressed.
Oh.
Yes, if I'm going through anything emotionally, that's when I used to get the chest pains. So when I was diagnosed and having those chest pains were running up and down, I said, wait a minute. I had read about this. If you are stressed, your immune system is compromised in some sort of way. And the symptoms can now be seen more. And I said, maybe on some level I might be doing this to myself. Yes, I'm sick.
Yeah.
But then there's nothing we can do until the 2 weeks are over, until we get the results. There's nothing I can do. So what I need to do is to take care of my mind and realize that no matter what happens, everything will be okay in some sort of way.
Oh, wow. So you encouraged yourself in those 2 weeks to
did.
try and stay positive. I see.
I remember we have a friend who is a radiologist. She called us, and when she had me speak, she told my sister, I think Usna is in denial. Yeah, that's not normal. That's not how people
respond.
Yeah, I think she might be in denial, but I wasn't. I really knew that if the cancer is there, there is nothing you can do. You can't pull your hair out for it to disappear.
That's true.
You have to calm your mind and go through the treatment.
That's very strong of you.
Yeah.
So when you did discover, okay, when were you given the diagnosis? 2 weeks have come, you meet the doctor. How did he break the news to you?
Well, my biopsy was done at Karen, but I was sent from Coptic. So I just opened and saw Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Did you know what that is? Had you ever heard of that?
No, but I Googled. Yeah, I just took out my phone.
This age we live in, Google is always there.
I just took out my phone and typed Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was like, okay. I went to the parking lot. My sister was there. She saw me smiling and said, oh, I'm sure everything is okay in Cambria. It depends on what okay means to you.
Perspective, yeah.
Then she told me, I'm sure it's not cancer. I said, well, it kind of is.
Wow.
Yeah.
As you're speaking, I feel like it was more of for your family than for you.
Than for me.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm the last born. We are 8.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think to them, I'm this little baby that they took care of, and they couldn't imagine such a thing happening to me. I remember at that time, I had graduated a year before, which meant I had no money, I had no millions to take care of my treatment. They had to do that.
So what was the next following steps after that?
Well, when we received the news, so we sat down, and of course people's brains are all over the place. But I have one of my sisters who is a very practical and logical thinker.
Okay.
So as people
sometimes
were
you need that when everything is all up in the air.
So when people's emotions were all over the place, her mind was, we need to look for a doctor.
Okay.
We need to look for a doctor ASAP who can tell us what to do. And I have my brother-in-law who works at Kemri, and he told us he had a friend who dealt with cancer patients, and he could help us out. Yes. But after we went there, like a week or so, my logical thinking sister thought, well, people get treated here, then after it gets bad, they go to India. Let's start from
So your sister
India.
said, let's just go straight to
Yes,
India.
let's start straight from India.
I feel like it's so unfortunate that we have to say that about our country. Like, don't we desire to be in a place where you feel like you can get the treatment you need and require here?
Yes.
That speaks volumes.
It does, it does. And if it weren't for my doctors here in Kenya, I wouldn't have known that I was sick.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
But I feel like it's because of, due to the experiences we've had, so many people we hear like they got to this stage, then they left for India, then they left for India. So in some way you think that India is better.
Okay.
Yeah. But it doesn't really mean so. I have so many friends who were treated here and they're okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how was your experience in India? So you had to go for 9 months. Tell us about the treatment and why that period and how was it?
I got to
the
India,
journey too.
Very upbeat about life.
Really?
And I was excited.
Really?
I had carried some of my psychology books from the library back at home in my bag. When I got there, I think reality slowly started setting in. We lived in a compound where we were almost 20 patients. And most of them were Kenyans. And you get little kids babies, mothers who brought their kids there. They tell you, we've been here for 7 months, we've been here for a year. Yes, people have been told you have 2 months to live. Yes, you know, I think when you have cancer alone in the house, you feel like
You can beat this.
Yeah, I can beat this. But then when you get there and you are in that ward waiting for the treatment regimen protocol, you're looking at all these patients with tubes through their noses, and you realize, wait a minute, this is real.
It's real.
It is real.
It's real.
Yeah.
What was most difficult about the treatment? You did chemo treatment.
I did.
Tell us about that.
So I had 12 rounds of chemotherapy. And when they said 12, I thought, this is going to be easy, right?
It doesn't sound like much.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like much.
Yeah.
But before getting cancer, you used to think that chemo are like these fumes in a room. You don't imagine that it's a drip.
Yeah.
It's just a drip coming through. But my first treatment was actually the hardest.
Really?
I sat for 8 hours. That medication has to come out in maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, in very, very small doses. They can't just open it.
Because your body will be able to handle it.
Yes. It comes in very small doses, and I had 4 packets of those. So they had to be pouches, rather, had to be finished within the 8 hours.
What?
So when I received the first chemo, I remember they put the, are they called catheters?
Yeah.
Yes, here. And I started passing, and I felt like someone was literally holding a burning candle or matchstick on my veins. I just screamed and told her, what is going on? What is that?
Ouch.
And she said, then your veins cannot take chemo normally. But since it has already started going in, you have to sit for today's session.
On that note, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Usna, before the break, you were just detailing or describing to us what the chemo treatment was like. So your veins didn't handle the treatment well. But because you began, you had to proceed.
I had to proceed.
So you had to go through that excruciating, almost piercing pain for 8 hours.
And my caregiver was my brother. And I remember him rubbing my back and just telling me, okay, we are almost done. It's the second one. Okay, this is the third one.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So how would the neck, because your veins didn't respond well, how were you to take them again? How were they meant to be?
I had to put in something called pot or a PICC line. See, a pot is 100K and you're just beginning treatment. You can't just splash 100K on comfort
I'm telling
when there's
you.
something cheaper.
Yeah.
So a PICC line was 18,000 rupees.
Okay.
Yeah, so I put a PICC line, and these are the marks I still have from the PICC line. So it runs from here, it goes in and all the way to your collarbone. But then it hangs outside here, and then they sew it. Yes.
Well, that sounds painful too.
It was. But then it makes
easy
your
way out
life
of it.
easier because the chemo now will not burn you.
I can only imagine the effects. What were the effects to your body?
Chemo didn't hit me as much as radiation.
You did radiation as well.
Yes, later.
Wow.
We did radiation. But for the chemo, just sitting for the 8 hours and then getting the nausea from, I couldn't eat. In fact, I came to eat rice, colored rice that is yellow, or the peas, almost a year and a half after I left India. Because anytime I could see the yellow rice,
It reminded you of?
yes, I could get nauseated immediately and just try to hold a table beside me.
Yeah.
It was like my body was being taken back to being in the hospital.
So what happened that you had to do radiation as well?
So I thought, 6 months is okay. I'm just going to be strong and deal with the 6 months. The 12 rounds are supposed to be for 6 months.
Got it.
So 2 every month.
Got it.
After the 6 months, I had to wait 1 month to do a PET scan.
Yes, to see how you're doing.
To see
if
how
it's
I'm doing.
cleared from your system.
The doctor said the tumor has now reached 8 centimeters. You can't go home with it.
Yeah, that's still big. So
It's
what
still
size was it
big.
before?
It was around 14, something like that. It was big. So the chest pain was because the tumor was pressing my heart and
Your
lungs.
lungs.
Yes, It was growing, but then it was, because tumors are not painful. They are painful when they start pressing the nearby, the neighboring organs.
So now to get rid of the 8 centimeters left, what was required, what was needed to be done?
I had to do radiation, 17 of them. And I think because I was not prepared, that was the hardest treatment for me.
Really?
Yes. Because I feel like I was rushed into the treatment. You know, they take you to this sort of a table with the CT scan to put marks on you, the tattoos, and then fit that suit. And then you have to be sort of, not really sort of, but you have to remove all the clothes before around 6 people. Most of them, all of them were men.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
For them to put marks and place that mask on you so that, and they're telling you, make sure you are steady. Because if you move, the rays are going to hit another part. Yeah, so we need to make a suit that make sure you're this. It was, I cried when I went for the fitting. I went home and actually cried. And also that meant more money. So we had spent a lot of money for chemo, and even rent for that house was a 2-bedroom.
I see.
Fully furnished, so we had to pay rent.
Wow.
We had to pay chemotherapy sessions. And after that, now you are being told come up with around, was it 400,000 for the radio?
Wow.
And you see, you have to do a down payment of half of it before treatment begins.
I see.
And you see, now you're telling people back at home who had thought we are nearing the end of this whole thing. Then again, they have to come up with all this money.
So this took a toll on your family financially, of course.
It did, and my siblings sacrificed a lot. They did, yes. Because that treatment, I didn't sit down and do the math, but it wasn't less than 3 million or 4 million.
Wow.
It wasn't. And nobody has that money lying around for
such an emergency.
Or for such an emergency.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
So they did sacrifice a lot for me.
So the radiation, is that what were the effects of radiation on your body?
I couldn't eat properly. Anytime I was trying to eat, I could close my eyes because it was painful. You feel like there are razor blades on your throat. Food can't go down, water can't go down, but you have to eat.
Yeah.
I remember, in fact, for chemo, anytime I was trying to lose weight, I used to work out a lot. I could still work out with chemo. And anytime I lost weight, I was being told, if you don't eat, we are going to feed you with tubes. You have to eat. Chemo is thorough. It's going to take a toll on your body.
Yeah,
you have to eat. You have to feed well. So I was on this. I have to wake up with certain fruits, a protein powder. After 2 hours, I eat this. After another 2 hours, I need to eat. Even if you're not hungry, I have to eat because I was naturally small-bodied.
Okay.
So I had to eat.
What were your coping mechanisms during these treatments? I mean, that's a toll on your body. How are you coping? Distracting yourself or helping you stay positive? How are you doing it?
Meditation.
Okay.
Yes, I started meditating around 2015.
Okay.
So during that time in 2019, by the time I was diagnosed, it was something that I used to do.
Got
so
it.
I could sit down and visualize my body healing and me getting better, and I am back home with my family, and that could keep me going.
Got it.
And even when I was receiving the chemo, I was visualizing how it is dealing with the cancer cells, and it just makes you naturally calm, and you are trusting the process. Yes. And apart from that, I had to become spiritual and religious. When you're going through something, I always put it like it's like a ship. A ship, when it docks on the, when it's docking, they have to run an anchor down. If they don't, then the ship is going to go offshore. So what I'm saying is,
you have to find your anchor.
Yes, you have to find your anchor.
Okay.
If you don't, it's going to be extremely hard.
Difficult.
Yes. We had people there who knew that they were quoting the Jeremiah verse that God has plans for you, not for evil but for good.
Yeah.
So that would get them through, that whatever is happening, that God actually
There's a
knows.
purpose.
Yes, how my life will turn out.
What was your anchor?
My anchor was, of course, I believed in a sort of way that even now when I'm going through something, I always try to see, what is the universe trying to teach me? What is the lesson? I look for the lesson and try to learn it.
Okay.
And during that period, I found my lessons.
You did?
Yes, I did. Number one, I don't think I was a good friend before I was diagnosed.
Okay.
But my friends really came
out
for me.
Okay.
I even had one of them travel to see me. They lived in nearby, but around 18 hours from where we were.
But they came?
Yes, he came to see me with his cousin, and it was amazing. And I saw how much my friends really cared for me. And I sat back and said, what kind of friendships have I been nurturing? I'm the friend who, maybe if someone has a wedding, I'm like, okay, here's my contribution, and I don't show up.
I see.
But after that,
it challenged you.
It did challenge me, because I saw people come through for me for no other reason other than pure love.
Oh, and that's how it should be, isn't it?
And that's how it should be.
Love should be the one thing connecting us. As you finish this part, I saw in your story you shared with us, you said, you've been mentioned now, throughout the whole journey, you try to hold on to what you'd normally do, staying healthy and exercising and working out. And of course your family would be like, you know, slow down. Even I'd imagine if I have a patient, I'd be like, take it easy, it's supposed to be resting, you know. But you said you will stop when your body tells you to stop. Let's talk about that. How do you know when it's good for you or when it's too much? How did you find that balance?
At first, I didn't. I wanted to be like, you know, I have to be this.
You're pushing yourself.
Yes, I have to push my body. I can do this. I'm amazing. I'm a strong woman and all that. And something funny happened. I had finished working out. I started meditating. And then I fell asleep on the floor. I didn't know. My brother just came and said, hey, you fell asleep. You were meditating, but you just fell asleep. So there was that, and I could get gaps in my mind. I could sit with you, you are talking, and then my mind just goes blank. I don't hear you.
I see.
I don't know where I am.
Oh, wow.
People call it the chemo brain.
Got it.
You don't even know where you are.
I see.
But later on, you're like, I think I zoned out. Yes. But
a good reminder of you're human.
yes.
I think you're pushing yourself to be, and it's good to encourage yourself and want to beat this, but you're human end of the day. So it's fine to be still and rest in that period.
That is true. That is true. And during radiation, I couldn't exercise.
Oh,
You know, people think that chemo is hard, but my treatment,
radiation was tough.
Chemos are different, yes.
Yes.
But mine was easier. Radio was tougher. It would only take me 20 minutes, but when I come home, I literally could not do anything.
You're tired.
I had to sleep for 6-7 hours during the day.
Okay.
I had to sleep. I couldn't work out. I couldn't do anything.
Oh, wow. On that note, we'll take a short break. When we come back, you can tell us about the community you had while you were in India. Yeah? We'll be right back. Welcome back. So, Usna, you can tell us about the time you were there in India. You had a community of people, sort of like a support group where you walked with each other. Tell us about how that was and how it helped and impacted your life.
It had a great impact because I think I lived a very sheltered life from childhood. Of just staying in the house, you go to school, you come back to the house.
Okay.
So I didn't have that great sense of community.
Got it.
But then being there, we had to be there for each other because this is a Kenyan, this is a Kikuyu, this is a Meru, you talk Swahili.
Yeah.
And that community keeps you going. But then here's the issue. If one of them has a problem, then you have to come together.
Rally together,
yes.
yeah.
You know, the way at home we have maybe someone has passed on and then you go to that house and you worship together, you give some condolences and all that. That also used to happen.
Okay.
Yes, and remember, this is a patient who you've had the same doctor with. You maybe even had chemo in the same ward, and then they pass on, and then you have to be there.
What was the most difficult part of that journey for you?
I tried blocking it. I didn't want to feel.
I see.
Because I thought I have to be strong, and being strong is, you know, don't feel this stuff.
Yeah.
Just don't feel it.
Okay.
Right? I didn't process any death.
Really?
There was one that knocked me off guard, but before
Which
that,
one?
I remember in a period of around 3 weeks, we lost 7 people. And we had to go and sit with their caregivers. They are crying, and the one who has passed on is your friend. There are people who even attended my birthday. Our landlord could just make some cakes and we could come together. There was juice, biscuits, and we celebrate, just something tiny, and we laugh. It brought some sense of belonging when we were there. So I never tried to process any death because I think at the back of my mind I knew if I did that, I would break down. It would make me face reality, that this is actually what cancer is. Not what you might be thinking of it, but this is what it is. It is it's a disease that's not something to joke around with.
It's fatal.
Yes, it's fatal. Thank you for that. It's fatal, actually. So,
but it happened.
What happened?
So
I remember.
Why did this particular one affect you?
It was a 2-year-old boy. They used to live upstairs, and my brother used to carry him to the playground. They were friends, the parents were young. And there we were. Their dad had come back to Kenya. And then he tells me, my son passed on. And I called him and asked him, what are you talking about? The son had done a stem cell transplant. So he was still in the hospital. When a stem cell transplant is done, you have to stay in the ward for a month, 2 months, 3 months even.
So you recover.
Yes, before you're released. And I remember their grandmother was there with that baby. We had taken one vehicle together to the hospital 2 days, 3 days before, and she had told me, I've bought this little airplane for little Taji. So there I was being told that the little boy had passed on. And then my mind did what it had always done.
Which is?
Block. I tried blocking it. So I went to the sitting room, I went to the sink there was a kitchen. And I told my brother, hey, by the way, Taji has passed on. Of course, he was shocked. And then my friend had come to visit me. They were there, boys just talking. And then they started saying the word chemo. For some reason, it triggered me. And I told them, please don't say that word. I don't want to hear that word. And innocently, he said, what's wrong with chemo? I'm just saying chemo. I felt this energy rush through my brain. I don't think I've ever felt anything like it. And I immediately let out a very sharp scream. I went to the bathroom, sat on the floor, and I was holding my head like this, screaming and heaving. So my friend was coming asking me, what's wrong? Breathe. I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air. Just doing, I could not breathe. I cried. I cried so much, and my friend was there really soothing me. I wanted to see, yes, the psychologist, and he told me that is an anxiety attack, and it happens when you don't process emotions. There is only enough that your mind can handle. If you keep it inside, your mind has to let it out, and that is its only way, because you don't want to think about the stuff that's going on. You don't want to talk, so it has to do the job or by itself. Yeah, so it forces you to let everything out.
How are you today, 3 years later? How is your health? How are you feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically? How are you?
Amazing.
Oh, great.
I feel amazing.
Great.
And
you do have a glow about you as well.
Thank you. I go for my scans, and I call them like they are my licensure for living being renewed. Yes. So the scans are perfect. I'm like, yay.
Amen.
My license on earth has been reviewed. Amen. What am I supposed to do? I need to meet a friend. Way back, I used to think, I don't have to meet my friends, I don't have to do this. But now, if my friend wants to see me, I'll tell them, okay, let's set a date, and I'll appear there, because I don't know what tomorrow will look like.
What is the plan for Usna? What do you have in store for the world?
Right now, I'm a stress management trainer.
Oh,
yes.
Look at that. Okay.
Yes, I also have a podcast called Mastering Your Happiness.
Oh, great.
Yes. So I'm really working on letting people enjoy life right now as it is, because we always have the notion that if this happens, then I'm going to be happy.
Then exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Like happiness is reserved for a smarter version of you, which is more accomplished, more beautiful.
More,
but it's not. Okay. It's really not.
It's now. And
it's
we
now.
Decide to do it now.
Right now, because if you think about it, every single thing, before you had this goal right now, maybe it's to build a house. You had another goal that you thought was going to make you happy.
That's true.
Before that, there was another.
There'll always be something
There'll always be something
trying to achieve.
Yeah. So if you put your happiness there, you will never achieve it. Yeah.
So where should you put your happiness?
I think happiness comes from within.
That's true.
Just really within. And when someone says within, it sounds so abstract. What is within?
Yeah.
Right?
Tell us.
But then for me, I think of it like we have people who are religious and they believe in God.
Yeah.
That is actually where happiness comes from.
Amen.
Just within. And sitting in silence with God and in those conversations.
Yeah.
Because when you talk to someone, they tell you, there's so much going on in my life, but deep down,
There's a peace.
there is some peace. That is the peace that we look for,
Amen.
thinking that accomplishing goals or being healthy will make you that happy. But then I had to realize, if I'm waiting to get better to be happy, look at this little boy. He just passed on. He didn't do anybody no wrong.
Yeah.
He didn't even deserve this.
Yeah.
But then he left. So which makes you think, those who stay are not perfect. They were not strong in any way. That little boy was not stressed. He used to laugh around.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that maybe everyone has their own map.
That's true.
In
Their
life.
own journey, their own
Yes,
path.
their own path.
Yeah.
And you just have to enjoy that. Every single little thing. I can sit on in a grass field, and then the air, when it's just pushing these blades side by side, it warms my heart.
Oh, that's lovely.
And that, for me, that's the peace that we actually look for and think that we can get it out there. So I believe it comes from within. And most of us don't even know what peace looks like because we've led busy lives, chaotic lives. You don't know, what does peace even look like?
Okay.
Yes. So that's why I say I really advocate for people who spend time with God and in church. Just even people who go to church on Tuesdays. My sister does that. When there is nobody, there is no preaching.
Okay.
You just go and sit in silence. You spend time with God.
Yeah.
It gives you a certain peace that you will never get out there.
Peace that surpasses all understanding.
Exactly. True. Others do meditation. I start my day with meditation. I have to I operate my day from that point of knowing that deep down, I feel at peace no matter what is happening. These are just life matters that are always there. Kila mtu ako nazo. Yeah.
I love it.
But I'm okay deep down.
What can you tell someone at home watching who may have gotten their cancer diagnosis or may be in treatment and it's difficult? Like you mentioned, it's not an easy journey. How can you encourage them today?
Get a community.
Okay.
Go online. Search on Facebook. I searched for Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is the cancer that I had.
Okay.
There was a community there. Even when I was being given a treatment protocol, ABVD, I just typed in ABVD in the group, and so when something comes up, you already know, these are the symptoms, these are the side effects and all that.
I see.
So get a community.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a lonely place to be in because nobody understands. You know, you are facing literally death. It's a matter of life and death. You have no idea. Cancer is not, you can't be told that, yes, you're going to be okay. Like when maybe you are having a surgery, the doctor is like, yeah, we'll just remove that and you're going to be perfect. No. Even now, I still go for scans because they can't tell you you're okay, you're doing great now. Go on with your life.
Even in remission, you have to go and check.
You have to still go and check how your body is doing so that they can catch it in time.
Yes.
In case they find it. So if someone is going through it, find a community. Your friends can be there, but they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
They don't know.
They're not going through it.
They can't even understand what you're going through, so they're going to look at you with sad, soulful eyes, and that's not what you need. You need warriors. Yes, and I remember there was this saying that the only person who knows how much water is needed to put out a fire is someone who has put out that same fire before.
I see.
They will tell you need 50 buckets.
Okay, that's how we do this.
That's how we are going to do this.
In fact, if you could tell us as we finish, speak to cancer patient caregivers. Like you said, we may not know what you're going through, but how can we best be there for you? You don't want the sad eyes, you don't want the pity. How best can we walk with you?
For me, when I saw my caregiver happy, that's when I was happy.
Really?
Yes. Nobody wants to feel like a burden to someone else. But when you feel like they're getting some type of improvement, they're doing something on their own while being there for me, that will make me happy.
I like that.
As a patient, you want to see your caregiver okay. Because otherwise now, you have to hide so many things from them. Because
you don't want to affect them.
Yeah, I don't want to affect you. Let me just deal with this.
Oh, no.
But if my caregiver is happy, I'm happy. Because it's already a huge sacrifice.
So it doesn't hurt you if you see them happy and you're like, do they even care about me?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
He left his family, his wife and kids, to be with me in India for 9 months.
Imagine.
He was
That's
not
a huge
obligated to.
sacrifice. Yeah.
Yes, it's already a huge sacrifice.
True.
Yes.
Thank you for that tip. As we finish, you read 100 books or thereabout while you were in India. Maybe you can end for us a show with something that stood out. It could be your favorite quote from one of the books or something that spoke to you that you can share with us.
One of them was You Are the Placebo.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us
It's
more.
by Dr. Joe Dispenza. So there's this, a placebo is like an experimental drug.
Yeah.
Let's say they want to bring a drug to the market, then they have to make something with sort of a sugar pill and try to see if is this drug working or do people just think it's going to work.
Yeah.
So it was done with Panadol, and that was not to bring Panadol out, but not really Panadol, but a painkiller, paracetamol. So they were trying to just show how the placebo works.
Okay.
So they divided 2 groups of people. One group was given the real painkiller with paracetamol. The other one was given something that looks like paracetamol, but
it's not.
isn't. It's just a sugar pill. But here is the issue. Both groups got better.
It's all in the mind.
It's all in the mind. So your mind knows, I've taken the drug, I should get better.
And that's why sometimes when you realize you're sick and you didn't know, that's when the symptoms show.
That's when the symptoms show. Yes.
Because in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm sick. I'm
Yes.
supposed to.
Yes.
But this one, they're like, oh, I've taken the medication. I'm healed.
So it goes deeper in just really telling you that most of the things that we
go
are
through.
manifesting in our outside world,
Yeah.
yes, they start in your mind. And just really, Dr. Joe's books have helped me to understand. He's a neuroscientist, so helps you understand how the mind connects, how it works. And here's the best one, that thoughts are not what is happening in reality. They are just neurons that have connected from your childhood. For example, right now, if someone walks in and you're like, I don't like that person, you don't have any evidence on who they are.
Yeah, you don't even know them.
You don't know them.
Yeah.
But it's because maybe they remind you of someone from your past, but you don't know they remind you of anyone.
Yeah.
But your mind just does the connections. If someone doesn't pick your call, you think to yourself, they must be assuming my call, they must not like me, but you've not had a conversation with yourself. So it's understanding that your thoughts don't necessarily mean that's what is
not
happening.
reality.
Yeah,
Not
they're
all
not
the time.
reality all the time. Yes. So right now, when I'm having all those thoughts and just the monkey mind running around, I just know they're thoughts. It doesn't mean that's what is happening out here.
Thank you for sharing your story with us today. Quite inspiring. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for bringing a breath of fresh air here today. We wish you all the best. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And to you at home, I hope she's inspired you. I definitely have been inspired today. Please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you and have more of such conversations. Until next week, take care of yourselves. God bless you. Take care. And of course, special thanks to Steakout Restaurant on Manyani Road here in Lavington for hosting us. Next time you're in the area, do come by. But until then, ciao.